Senior advocate and former MP of Rajya Sabha, Mahesh Jethmalani, now joining me. Good evening, sir, and thank you so much for giving us some time on NDTV Profit this evening. Trump has now confirmed that at least $21 million was earmarked to install another leader in this comment. Is it time that India launched an investigation into this?
Yes, the investigation on its own, right? I don't know how much it would yield, but really speaking, there are only three questions now remaining, right? There was an allocation, and that itself, when you talk about voter turnout, it's an euphemism for trying to influence election by paying voters. It doesn't mean anything else, right?
Okay.
So there is already interference, and in terms of the law, it translates into a conspiracy to commit a crime in India, do something illegal, that is to bribe voters to vote in a particular way. In this case, according to President Trump, to vote against the incumbent government and bring about regime change which suited the Biden administration. So there is already a conspiracy involved, and there's a ground for an investigation. The conspiracy has taken place. Now, did it fructify? Those are the questions. Fructify means, was it consummated in action? Right? So this allocation, was it actually used by the powers that be in India representing the US government, which is the diplomatic corps here, and the office bearers, the head of the mission of USAID, etc. Did they receive this money, A, and transmit it on to those actors who were supposed to implement the objectives, namely influence voting patterns in India? That's what needs to be found out, right? Now, this can be done since we are getting a lot of inputs from the highest levels of the American government, right? Perhaps we should persuade them to give us more information, right, regarding dispersals, the accounts, USAID's accounts, and the dispersals in India made therefrom. That's the way to seek their assistance, right, under mutual assistance treaties, and just as a friendly government, President Trump has already said that he set his face against interference, right, using these kinds of covert methods, and sort of try to destabilize governments of elected democracies and allies of the USA, including in the military alliance in Quad. So that's one way to go about it. I mean, I'm sure our intelligence agencies are already examining this, right, on their own, but they'll need help. They'll need a little help from, the powers that be in America to find out whether this actually was utilized for the purpose it was allocated, right? And who gave it to whom? And what did the final recipients do with it to attain the objective of voter turnout, enhancing voter turnout or skewing voter turnout?
Absolutely. So, and we've seen, the former CEC come out and deny these allegations, and we've seen several quarters actually say that these comments cannot be laid or made without any kind of evidence. But if I were to ask you, what measures do you think should be implemented henceforth to ensure transparency in foreign aid and its intended use within India? What would you say?
Well, of course, that now that we've had this experience, by the way, what Mr. Qureshi said was about a 2012 allocation.
Right.
What President Trump is talking about is a Biden administration, a Biden era administration allocation. So they're on two different, two different issues altogether. But yeah, of course, I mean, we already have, laws in place. But the problem with foreign aid and its utilization here is, you are actually now going into diplomatic accounting and so on and so. The accounts of diplomatic agencies, diplomatic institutions and their agencies like USAID. Right? So there's some kind of there can be some kind of barriers put down on the grounds of diplomatic immunity and diplomatic privilege and diplomatic secrecy and all that. So, but we have the FCRA system where you're going to use, right, where you are going to use foreign aid for purposes not permitted in India and for purposes contrary, right, to what we we thought they would be used for. For instance, at no stage did the intelligence agencies know that US aid was being used for this purpose. It's only a subsequent DOGE complete audit of USAID's funds that has revealed that monies were going for a project called voter turnout in India. Right? Now, it'd be difficult for us because this money, while the Americans back home, right, the administration back home and the diplomatic corps here might know what it's used at, what is it going to be used for, right, i.e. voter turnout. But that nomenclature, that title, that heading may not be apparent to anybody in this country because they would just use funds in their account and, earmark it not officially, but just utilize it for that purpose.
Right.
Whereas in their discrete, in their own secret accounts, right, we know the real purpose, that is 21 million for voter turnout in India, where they have to put the real purpose because they have to explain where this money, taxpayers' money, was actually utilized.
Absolutely. So then how do you assess the broader implications of this funding controversy on India's democratic institutions?
Look, of course, it's subversive of our democratic institutions. But I dare say that, global powers, right? Especially big powers, policies, big power. They're always, less powerful countries are always a playground, especially if they are pivotal countries. Right? India is a very pivotal country. Right? Why Biden wanted to destabilize India after he had, like Trump, pursued, or following Trump, pursued a Quad alliance. We're allies, we're friends. So I find this a betrayal by the Biden administration. What they have really done is stabbed us in the back. Now, they were dealing with the government of the day, right? And it is their business to deal with the government of the day. It is not their business to initiate, right? We are not a hostile country. Neither is India is not a hostile country, right? The Modi government, the NDA government, was not a hostile government to US interests, right? But you are now avoiding that hallowed principle of honoring your allies by saying you want a more subservient government. You are now entering into the area of regime control. In other words, you want to make India a vassal state.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the danger of this whole thing. I dare say, as I said, it happened before, but we're a strong country now and we must stand up against it. And of course, PM Modi, is just the right person. What it says for resisting such regime change and such, covert operations which destabilize and try and bring regime change and don't really reflect the electorate's verdict.
Absolutely.
But it is a shame. It is a shame that opposition parties, in this case, because they've been, if you're to believe President Trump, and we must believe him, right? The money went to destabilize the incumbent Modi government.
Right.
So it is people in the opposition who took this money or were to take this money, was it dispersed? Let me be very fair. Right? And that is very unfortunate because it shows that the opposition in this country is subservient to foreign interests. And they don't have ideology, but they have lust for money. And that is why this exposure will make the opposition weaker. I am for a strong opposition in this country. But if this is the kind of practice they're resorting to, and I say if, right, it's very unfortunate for the democratic structure of this company that the only opposition we have, right,
Absolutely.
is going to sing the tune of those that pay them from overseas.
Absolutely. And Mahesh Jethmalani, sir, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Some hard questions there to the opposition and also the Biden administration to actually reveal more information. Thank you so much for putting that in perspective.